All right. Hello, everybody. I am on the Girl Sports, and today, very special, very special first episode of our interviews on this channel. And today we have Astros Fans UK. He is an avid Astros fan, and he is the biggest Astros fan that I know that is not from the US. And he's made a name for himself. He's a member of Apollo Media. And today I'm going to be asking him some questions about his Astros fanhood, how he became such a big fan of the Astros, and questions about this 2023 Astros season. So just to get started right off the bat, how you doing, man? How have things been? Yeah.
Yeah, great to be on your show, and always happy to talk Astros baseball and all things to do with the Astros, whether it's my fandom, whether it's the season coming, the great season we just had, and everything that comes with it. So yeah, just enjoying the off season, trying to keep my finger on the pulse, but not to such an obsessive degree as I would during the season, because with the time difference, it's a it's a labor of love, and it's quite draining having to you go through it day in day out for years and years during the season. So yeah, I'm trying to enjoy every moment I can before the machine starts up again.
Yeah. I can imagine those night games must be rough. So,
You say that
mhm.
I really enjoy them because it's everyone's asleep here, like the normal people are asleep here, and
Mhm.
yeah, if you've got a night game that's in Houston starting at either midnight or 10 past 1 in the morning our time, you kind of settle in. I love to do my live tweeting through the games as well, which I find kind of allows me to enjoy it to another level, from afar, because I think it's a great way to keep in touch with all the Astros fans on both sides of the Atlantic and indeed around the world, because we've got Astros fans in so many different locations, and part of what I've been doing for the last 5 years in terms of Twitter experience is that I've been trying to connect Astros fans all across the globe. We've got Astros France, Astros Germany. There's one in the UAE. Sorry, UAE. We've got Astros Mexico, Astros Taiwan, or you name it. This is Astros Australia. It's a brilliant thing, and I'm very committed to pushing that, and also making sure that the Astros themselves as a club understand that there is an international fan base out there, because I think naturally, and I don't blame them for it. I think that it's quite easy for them to focus solely on the home market, which is obviously the priority and the primary importance for them is to do so, which makes perfect sense. But I think it's important that the club realizes that at this moment in time, as world champions again, we have an incredible opportunity to spread that gospel of Astros baseball, and to expand the fan base. I never look down on new fans. I mean, I've been a fan since the start of 2000,
Mhm.
but if you've got a fan who says to me, "Oh, I only started following the Astros since like July last year. I saw they were on. They were a great team, and I started following them." Yeah, I treat them exactly the same. I think it's a wonderful thing. We're very blessed to be Astros fans, and I sort of expand that net as far as we can, just to keep connecting everyone. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we are certainly living in the best time, the Astros golden era, as a lot of people
Hmm.
that I know like to call it. And the fact that we have so many opportunities and so many resources for people to become fans of this team all over the world is truly such a great thing, because I've gotten to meet a lot of people
Indeed.
that I would never have been guessed, like from all different parts of the world, that have been huge Astros fans, including you. And
Hmm.
it's just something that I feel like the Astros should take as much importance to as they can, because it really could
Yeah,
be a very special way for them to grow their market, especially being the reigning World Series champions,
exactly.
to be
Couldn't agree
able
more.
to reach out to as many people as they can, especially with the great team that they have. Um, Speaking of the great team that we have, I wanted to ask you about the recent signing of Dana Brown. Obviously, a lot of Astros
Hmm.
fans, including me, very excited about it, seeing this man's repertoire. What do you think
Hmm.
he's going to bring to this club, not just this year, but for the future, prospect wise, draft wise? How do you think he's going to help impact this team going forward?
Well, I think they said it. So if you didn't have to even read between the lines, it was said loud and clear. Player retention. They want to make sure that we don't lose the big names, which we've done an extraordinary job of being able to cover for. Springer leaves, Correa leaves, whoever big huge parts of the team in the last 5 6 years have left, and we haven't missed a beat. We haven't missed a step, and a lot of that. has come down to the incredible international recruitment that we've had, the scouting that has been. I think it was Ozzy Campo who's in charge of that for such a long time. I think he's gone to the Marlins now, but is as long as we can keep that going, we certainly have nothing to fear in that side of things. But in terms of Dana Brown, yeah, I don't know how they did it with all those deals with the Braves players for what seemed way below market value, but
And Thoplos
I think
Island.
that's yeah. I mean, was it? I don't know the numbers. Like it's just absurd. Like you saw reading these like $70 million, and you're thinking for like however many years, and you're thinking how is that even possible? But yeah, I don't know how he's going to go about doing it, but that's definitely seems to be the focus from what Jim Crane was saying and from what Dana Brown himself was saying. They literally said the words player retention on
Mhm.
more than one occasion. So I think that's the focus. I think otherwise it's just keep on keeping on. I think with in terms of the pitching setup. I mean, again, we lost Brent Strom. Everyone's thinking, oh, is this going to be a change for the Astros in terms of how well we pitch? Got even better. I mean, it's almost like the more you throw at the Astros, the better we get. It's actually defies explanation. I don't know whether. I mean, I don't know. I think it can't be luck. There can't be luck behind it because it happens so frequently that they have to have contingency plans and clear strategies of how they're going to move when they lose key parts. I mean, it's something which I find extremely impressive and admirable because baseball, as we all know, Major League Baseball, very cyclical. Teams are hot. They go through a window where they got a championship window and they fight for World Series titles for 3 4 years, and then players leave, players get old, and then they kind of go down and their time is over. But
Yeah, look at the,
the
I
way
mean,
we're
yeah, the like the 2014, 2015 Royals, perfect example of
yeah,
that.
look at and the Cubs as well. I mean, you've got the Royals and the Cubs. Like they went through. They had exactly that thing where they were good for a while, very good for a while, and then disappeared. So what we're doing is like kind of defying that and it's saying that no, we don't. The whole thing about we don't rebuild, we reload, and it's just you see it. It's just like a you look at great accounts like Astros Future on Twitter, and then you just see all the details of the guys coming from overseas and the acquisitions that we're making in terms of like below the radar sort of names, which
Mhm.
knowing how the club works, you have great faith that even if you're never going to hit with every single acquisition you make, every single signing. Of course, there are going to be
Right.
ones who don't come good, but I think with the track record that we've got over the last few years, there are so many reasons to be positive. And I think Dana Brown, just going back to the question, I think Dana Brown will look to keep that going. I think I speak for most Astros fans in terms of being relieved that we haven't completely decided to ditch the analytical side. I'm a self-professed not an expert on your sabermetrics, etc. I
Mhm.
couldn't tell you X whoever's all the different stats, modern stats that come through. I couldn't reel those off and give you sort of a breakdown of that. But I do appreciate how necessary they are for the way that we do things. So to see that Dana Brown is looking to maintain that whilst bringing some kind of ex-player angle. I think Jim Crane, for whatever reason, was very keen to get an ex-player, as in someone who's had baseball experience, be it minor leagues or whatever, on board. It didn't seem to gel with James Click, which is a shame because I think James Click seemed like a pretty decent guy, but yeah, it didn't obviously didn't work out. Jim Crane didn't really gel with him. But I think Dana Brown offers us a really exciting future.
Hmm. Yeah, and that just goes to show. I mean, the Astros, if you look at it from sort of like an outside perspective, they're kind of like a hybrid of all the other teams in Major League. I mean, you look at the
Mm.
Los Angeles Dodgers and the amount of resources they have, not just because of their wealth, but because of their international draft pool,
Hmm.
their farm system. They have so much of that, and the Astros kind of like are like a piece of that. I mean, they kind of have some of the Braves, some of the Dodgers, some of the Marlins. They kind of have all those teams sort of mixed in the front office is what at least what I see when I look at the Astros. This is sort of like a hybrid of everybody else, and that way I feel like that just means that they're more ahead, if anything, because the things that they do continue to do year after year, people say that this team is going to regress or they're going to regress. This is the downfall, and
Mm.
they just keep proving those people wrong year after year.
Big
Um,
time.
yeah, and Dana Brown, somebody who has experience with a lot of teams who have sort of built from the ground up, is gonna, I think, if anything, just help keep that more sustainable. And I'm
Mm.
really excited about that. But to kind of circle it back to the beginning, I wanted to ask you, what was the first baseball experience that like really hooked you, at least like from what you can remember, really like sparked
Mm.
interest to where you thought maybe this is something that I'd want to like base my career on. Not just that, but something that you'd want to that really like sparked your passion for the game.
Good question. I'm not sure if I've ever been asked that before. And in terms of people normally ask, "Oh, how did you get into baseball?" But what you said is kind of an extension. I like it. Um, let's go back to when I did get into baseball first. Fairly late start. Obviously, baseball wasn't something I was surrounded with as a young kid. I played a lot of sports here, played a lot of cricket, and I happened to be up late during I think it was August of the 1999 season. Had no connection to the US or to baseball whatsoever, and I saw it on the TV. It was being broadcasted on the Sunday night baseball and Wednesday night baseball from
Mm,
ESPN was being shown on feeds here, and yeah, so I got watching it, got interested in it, thought this is cool, and later on made the conscious decision that I needed to pick a team if I was going to get fully invested in it. Otherwise, the interest would probably wane.
yeah.
Um, in terms of an actual moment, I don't really have one, but I do clearly remember watching that '99 World Series, the one between the Yankees and the Braves. Um, and I think it might have been that walk off. Was it walk off home run, Chad Curtis,
Oh
in
yeah,
Game
1999.
Three? Yeah, in Game Three. Wild, sort of wild scene. I think that was at Yankee Stadium. That, yeah, was definitely Yankee Stadium.
Hmm.
And just obviously, I love the kind of way that baseball is, or Major League Baseball, as an atmosphere, very different from sports over here. We have fantastic atmospheres, footballs and soccer wise in
Hmm.
stadiums, but it was kind of a different excitement. And yeah, I think that moment really stuck out. It wasn't really anything from the regular season which specifically stuck out, but I did love the Astros 90s logo and uni design, that kind of set which we had, which obviously changed before the next season. But yeah, that was one of the things which hooked me. It was actually Mike Hampton who was the main reason I became an Astros fan. Seeing we're talking way before Shohei Ohtani did what he's doing in terms of being a true two-way player. But
That dude could hit.
Mike Hampton was a good hitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a serviceable hitter in way more than
Hmm.
99.9% of other pitchers out there. So I as a cricketer in cricket, you have have an all-rounder, someone who can bat and can bowl. It was something which was interesting to me. Obviously, then he got traded to the Mets before the next season, so I had to it's kind of crossroads moment of, do I follow him to the Mets or do I stick with the Astros? And luckily, I made the right decision, stayed with the Astros. I thought, you can't be
Hmm.
following a player because you're just going to be changing your team all the time. But yeah, I think that's the closest I could really pinpoint to a moment was that '99 World Series, which I just enjoyed the whole vibe of it. I mean, looking back, I'd probably been more disappointed watching the Yankees win a World Series, but it was yeah,
Yeah.
it was a fun moment. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably where I'd leave it with that.
Hmm. It's interesting because I have a lot of Rockies fans that I talk to on here. Whenever they speak of Hampton, they only talk about his offensive highlights.
Oh
They don't,
wow.
yeah, because he didn't have the greatest stint with them pitching wise. But Mike
Mm.
Hampton, yeah, obviously I wasn't really alive for that set of Astros baseball. Unfortunately, I never got the chance to go to the Astrodome. My parents did, but
Mm.
I rep the team a lot, and I've seen a lot of highlights of that, and it brings me a lot of nostalgia for a time when I wasn't around. But
Speaking
yeah.
of which, that jersey, by the way, that jersey you've got on right now
Mhm.
that is that.
This is
I love that
um,
that logo set. Oh yeah.
it's my all-time favorite. Yeah. See, a lot of people they'll hate on like the old 2000s bricks red and stuff. I have a soft spot for that, but I mean, these are just like the
Me too.
all-time bests. These are the all-time best, and I don't think there's any debate over that. Just the white look and like
I,
the star right
it's
here.
just clean. Yeah, it's clean, isn't it? It's a
It's so
clean
clean.
look.
Mhm.
I definitely need to get my hands on one of those, and yeah, they're definitely right up there with the very best. I think we're lucky that we've had so many great unis. Going back to the whole sort of particular sunrise type ones with the kind of wild designs of the 70s
Yeah.
and 80s, which also are great too. I mean, we've got so many great looks. I mean, I love the of our current ones. I think I probably, if I was going to rate our current unis, maybe it's difficult. I'd say maybe the orange one is my number one. Uh, Considering the way that Framba owned the Navy ones this year, that really did give them an extra
It's
edge,
got to be
obviously, to
number
win the
two.
World Series in them. They're up there. I, I'm not a massive fan of the Grey Road ones, but they've grown on me a bit in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think we've got a history of great logos and great unis and also great logos too. So yeah, I've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent there, but
That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah, I get it. I feel the same way because I used to kind of be a hater. Like I remember because the first year I really was like big into the Astros baseball was
yeah,
like 2014. That's when I started following baseball in general.
okay,
remember,
yeah,
I remember really hating our road uniforms. And I was like wishing that they had like made an alternate or something. But over the years, especially watching us play in Game 7 of the World Series at Dodger Stadium, they've really started to grow on me. So
mm.
actually, wait, no, we were orange that game. That's
That's
my
orange, but he had the road pants, so it was like yeah,
Mhm.
it was yeah, no, yeah, I get
If
what you mean.
anything, we
It
need to
still
do
had the
that
grey
more.
element.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I wish yeah, I'd like to see them be kind of more flexible with the way they do that and have different retro looks. I mean, that's the beauty of having 162 games in a season is that you get that freedom to kind of play around with the unis a bit, have the retro nights and have different looks. I guess it's different in other sports where there aren't so many games. You sort of can't have that freedom. With baseball, what's the difference if one game you're wearing a completely different outfit? It's fine. So I love the range of quality styles that we have. But just touching on those the brick unis etc. of the 2000s. Yeah, I share that soft spot like you do. I mean, those were the unis when I made the decision to become an Astros fan and at the
Mhm.
start of 2000, those were the unis that I kind of I didn't grow up with them, but as in the ones that as an Astros fan I grew up with.
Yeah.
So yeah, my first Astros uni was the of Jersey, sorry, was the pinstripe one. So yeah,
Mhm.
it does kind of make me a bit sad when I see people absolutely slating them. But
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, come on. I mean, if you see like Biggio or Bagwell wearing one of those things, I mean, how can you not feel nostalgic? They just look.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Mhm. So yeah,
I,
as much as I like to talk about jerseys, I'll get back on track here. Because I could talk about it all day, but just to get back on track here.
yeah.
So you told me about how there wasn't really a certain experience, but you did grow to become more of a baseball fan going in the 2000s. What was it
Mhm.
like seeing the transition from, those early 2000s, the 2000s Astros teams with all those players going through the doldrum years of the early 2010s to now?
Well, I mean, I think as anyone would say, was difficult. It felt like such an end of an era during the late part of the 2000s when
Mhm.
all I think it was when Hunter Pence left was a real kick in the teeth. That felt like right, we are absolutely
Yeah.
just burning it all down, and that was a signal that it was going to be a tough stretch for a long while, which it was. And yeah, I mean, it was 2014 was really an exciting year to be an Astros fan to finally see that turnaround
Hmm.
actually begin to happen. It was exciting to not lose 100 games. I very vividly remember one of the accounts on Twitter. I think it might have been Astros numbers or Astros count or whatever, sort of making sure making counting down the games to avoid losing 100 the wins to avoid losing 100 games. And yeah, I enjoyed that season. I think it was about was it 70 and whatever it was 71, 91 or whatever the
Yeah.
record was at the end. And
And
yeah,
we weren't last.
I thought it was huh?
We weren't last. And I still give
Yeah,
Rangers
yeah.
fans crap about to this day finishing above them that year.
Yeah, there's never a bad time to to have a dig at Rangers fans because yeah,
Mhm.
it's they haven't certainly haven't got much to shout about versus the
Mhm.
Astros these days. And yeah, long may that continue.
Mhm. And I always like try to keep it playful with those, but those fans like
Yeah,
I don't really have any hate for any fan bases. What I find beautiful about especially today's MLB Twitter landscape is that I think for the most part, it's all everybody's pretty, chill and gets along. I don't think you'd see that like 10 years ago. I think it was kind of different in the MLB community. Things were a lot more scarce. I would say right now, it's probably the best it's ever been. But yeah, that's really cool to hear. Obviously, I didn't really get to experience much of like the bad years because I joined right during like I guess the end of it all. I still remember going
Hmm.
to a game and seeing George Springer play when he was just a baby, and
Yep.
seeing him just play just made me really optimistic for the future of the team.
Hmm.
And surely enough, next year he made the postseason. Um, what was it like, especially this year, seeing us make
Yep.
that run? Like, I mean, obviously, a lot of Astros fans will talk about, how this team would go down as the greatest they've ever seen. But would you put this team against maybe, let's say, the 2019 team in terms of just all around skill?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's no comparison offensively. That 2019 team in the regular season was arguably the best offense that baseball's ever seen. And I know that I'm biased in saying that, but I'm pretty sure that the stats will back me up in saying that they would be right up there competing in almost every offensive category with any
Mhm.
team going back 100 years. I think even that sort of Yankees team, Motors Row. I think the team. I think they had a better. Was it better WRC?
Yeah, I think.
IPS. I can't remember. One of the major stats. The team was fared better than them in a direct head to head. I think that team was incredible, but
Mhm,
and it's a big but. The 2022 team had more character, had more heart than the 2019 team, which I
mhm,
never thought I'd say. But that 2019 team didn't win a single ball game from being behind in the seventh inning or later, and that was
mhm.
what killed us. Unfortunately, that's what killed us because
Yeah.
when things went wrong in Game 7, they couldn't come back off the mat. They couldn't get
Mhm,
up, and they should have because you think about it. I mean, if you honestly think about it, Howie Kendrick hits that 1 in a million, 1 in a billion home
mhm.
run off the
Yeah.
foul pole.
On a perfect
Terrible
pitch.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect pitch, 91, 92 miles an hour on the outside corner, low down. There's nothing wrong with the pitch whatsoever. So people rightly say that it was not a great idea to bring Will Harrison because they'd seen him in every game of the series. But at the same time, yeah, it was a perfect pitch. He did nothing wrong. And it was a very, very sort of freak moment that when it got out of there, we suddenly we're down 2-3. But that shouldn't have been, that we still had 9 outs to go.
Mhm,
There's no reason why at home in Game 7 of a World Series that should have been the death knell. The problem was we let the game get away from us, both with the ball with the ball and the bat. We didn't even remotely threaten a comeback
yeah.
in the last innings of that game. And I think the 2022 edition of the Astros have the 2019 Astros licked in that way. There's honestly
Mhm,
there's no there's there was no game this season where I really felt like I didn't feel like we did. I always felt like we had a chance. Obviously, you get
mhm.
some games which are
Yeah.
for whatever reason things go the other way. But I think especially in the postseason, I mean, look at the game against the Mariners, game one in the ALDS when Jordan said that walk off. Like I still can't believe that happened. That
Yeah.
that
Well,
was
yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. But that doesn't happen in 2019. It
Mhm,
just wouldn't. So if you're comparing the two teams, 2019 on paper, especially as an offense, more talented, but 2022 had a much. It's stunning to say it because 2019 had Verlander, had Garrett Cole in
mhm,
his absolute
mhm.
peak,
That
and
Greinke back in
Zach Greinke
spell.
as well.
Mhm,
But yeah, great 1, 2, 3. But look at the bullpen from 2022. That is, I honestly don't think I've ever seen a bullpen as good as that. And that sounds, it sounds biased, but it's not.
mhm,
Show me one that's better. The chips were down, and they delivered time after time after time. As soon as Jordan hits that home run in game, to turn the game upside down in game 6, bam, you knew it was over.
yeah.
You didn't want to say it because you didn't want to jinx it. Obviously, at the time, you're like, no, don't jinx it, don't jinx it. But no, the game was done. As soon as he hits
Mhm,
that out there, bam! It was you knew there was no way the Phillies were getting back in that game.
mhm,
And to have that luxury in the postseason of having a bullpen that you can trust in any situation, it was like, what are you supposed to do against them? You got Brian Abreu was ridiculous.
Rafael Montero, Matt
Eh,
Stanek. I
yeah,
mean,
Montero was
fun.
apart from Game 5 against the Phillies. Montero had such an incredible season.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, I mean, you can reel off the names of pretty much everyone in that bullpen. I mean, even guys who missed out, like Seth Martinez. I mean, he was nasty as well. We've got so many arms. It was just arms for days. I think that's for me is the bit that takes it over. I think that's what makes the 2022 side
Mhm.
the best.
I'd have to agree with you on there because, when I look at that 2019 team, especially now, I see a team that had a lot of good hitters and a lot of good pitchers. But at the end of the day, I don't really think there was like any like leaders on that team. And I'm saying this because,
Hmm.
yeah, you had Bregman that year and he had an MVP year. But when the moment count, when there was like the big moments, right?
Yeah,
I
clutch moments. Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, sure you had Craze walk off, but like when it really mattered in the World Series, I didn't feel like there was that one guy that really stepped up that year. And this year we
Hmm.
had multiple of those guys. I mean, you had
Yeah.
Framber Valdez, and each of his postseason starts, he gave us a quality start. You had Yordan Alvarez with clutch home run after clutch home run, and then you had
Hmm.
all the guys in the bullpen stepping up and giving us super valuable innings. And there
Jeremy
was
Pena as well.
yeah,
I mean,
Jeremy
Pena
Pena.
was
I mean,
absolute revelation.
And who would have thought? And it's just like, I just don't think you see that in 2019 because it felt like every single game we kind of just slugged our way to victory every time. And when we
Yeah.
couldn't do that, when we were facing the best pitchers and they shut us down, feels like we kind of like forgot how to do our thing. We kind of forgot how to win. But
Agreed.
this year, it felt like we had this like resilience to us where, our goal wasn't to try and outslug our opponents every game. It was just to try and score as many runs as the bullpen needed or as the pitchers needed, starting pitchers, and just go out there and compete. And I think
You,
that mentality is kind of what put us over the edge, at least in my
you know what?
other teams.
So sorry. Yeah, sorry to cut across. You know what? I think ironically really helped was what the team had gone through the last 2 years in terms
Mhm.
of facing all this vitriol on the road.
Mhm.
This team was so battle hardened and was so ready for anything. It was laughable when Phillies fans were saying, "Oh, you guys don't know what you're going to expect going to Citizens Bank Park." Absolutely not. We were saying, "Guys, we've been watching this
Like Dodger
team."
Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium was 10 times. You could tell it was for a regular season game was 10 times more
Mhm.
um, hostile than whatever the Philly fans could throw at us in that World Series. So I had immense confidence in this team, and I think it really did prepare us for that.
hmm Yeah, especially after that game 3, because I think a lot of fans were kind of like starting to have their doubts, but I'm like, nah, they're gonna bounce back. I think most true
Mm,
Astros fans knew in their head like this was a game that they were just gonna just completely wipe away, and it showed because the next 2 games they played amazing baseball and they threw a no hitter. So that doesn't happen every World
exactly.
Series. Yeah, it's 2022 really was an incredible year, not just for me, but Astros fans everywhere. And I'm so glad that I got to go to the parade this year. And I'm really we're still upset that you did not have the chance to do that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it looked incredible. I mean, was it a million, 2 million Astros fans? However many it was,
it was over two
it looked
million.
insane. I mean,
hmm
that's
And I remember
unbelievable. I mean,
I remember staying at the hotel the night before, right? And I got up at about 10 a.m. No, actually, no, I got up at 8 a.m. and I went over to the street, which it was on. I forgot which street it was, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
walked over from the hotel and there was already a few 100,000 people there. And it just
Wow.
shows how much love this city has for our team. I think a lot of people used to say that Houston was a football city. I don't think that's true anymore.
Mm,
Even if it ever was, this is a baseball city, 100%. And I don't think there's ever been a time in Houston where our city has been more behind the baseball team. It kind of reminds me a lot of how over in the UK they have like Manchester City and Manchester United, all the Premier League teams, how people are really have like their identity is really in those teams. I
yeah.
think Houston's identity really lays in the Astros right now. And I just want to ask if there is any like baseball following up in the UK,
Hmm.
like how has that developed over the years? That at least how you've seen it develop, where to the point where you guys have been able to maybe communicate and try and grow the baseball following up there.
Yeah, it's just something which I'm additionally very passionate in talking about. I'm also part of a group called co-founder of a group called MLB UK Community on
Mhm.
Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, etc. We came together in the 2017 season when there was an event which Major League MLB Europe, back then it was MLB UK. They were holding an event called was it Home Run Derby Battlegrounds in Hyde Park over here in London. And in the lead up to that, they did an event which like a small event where they reached out to us seeing our Twitter accounts, and they said we want to get a representative of each of the 30 major league teams to come down for this event as like a sort of warm up for that. And it was hosted by a guy Colin Murray, who is like a sports presenter over here, done lots of TV and radio work. And yeah, we came together at this event, and we realized, before that, we didn't really know that there was a baseball following out here at all. We were on, we were kind of like islands floating in this vast expanse in the kind of cyberverse without knowing that everyone else existed. So to have that was a real eye-opening experience. We talked and we said, wouldn't it be great to set up a group for baseball fans in the UK and to start holding live watch parties to get us, to get fans of all 30 teams together watching live Major League Baseball. And that has been something that we've driven ever since. We've got the hashtag MLB Meetups UK. It's what I envision as like an umbrella movement, so people can host their own. The goal is not just that we have our events. We work very closely with MLB Europe and with Passyunk Avenue. It's actually Philadelphia-based, Philadelphia themed, sorry, restaurant slash bar, which is kind of incorporated with there's a place called Home Run House here, which they've got batting cages and stuff. And so that's one of the locations that we hold our events in London. But the real goal for me, and I think pretty sure for everyone else, is to get events all around the UK. We were badly hit by COVID in terms of stalling the momentum that we had. Well, I say stalling the momentum, it destroyed the momentum that we had. Because back in 2019, when we had the London series here with the Yankees and the Red Sox, we had there were events in Glasgow up in Scotland, there were events in Leeds, up in Birmingham, I think in Bath, all around the UK. There were events starting to pop off, and it was really good. We were managing to get people together. We had 150 people come down for game one of the London series. We had 70 people down for even just the workout day the day before, and we had about 100 for the second game on the Sunday. So we were really getting ahead of steam. But unfortunately, like I said, the COVID, the pandemic year really just knocked everything out the window, because obviously couldn't be holding events. But we've managed to recapture that, and like I said, we're working very, very closely with MLB Europe and also Baseball Softball UK with this joint vision to hold these events. And what I see is having a future where people are holding their own events. So I want to get that hashtag MLB Meetups UK is like the umbrella which all these events are held under, whether it's people holding an event for 5-6 people up in Wales or in Scotland or whatever, or whether it's an event in Birmingham or London where there are 100 people. It doesn't matter the size of the event. You can hold it in different ways. Maybe you'll do it as a ballpark food day or event, or maybe you'll do it as like just purely the game, or maybe you'll have like 4 or 5 games on, or you can focus on 2 teams. However you want to do it. I'm never going to tell people how to do it. There's 4 of us in this group, MLB UK community, myself, LA Angels UK, New York Yankees UK, and Cubs UK, and we have a wide sort of breadth of opinions and views on how we do things, and it's healthy. It's healthy to get fans together. And what we see through holding these events is that there are fans in the UK, and that the more I love seeing when people who haven't been to these events before attend, and I make a big point for myself of going to speak to them and making finding out their background in terms of being baseball fans, and trying to make sure that we have it as a really positive environment. Whilst I've got no problem with there being sort of tribal rivalry at all in terms of setting up these events, try to keep it slightly lessened, because the last thing, if you've got someone who's a total newbie walking through the door, the last thing you want is them to get put off by people shouting this, that, whatever. Not a shout just generally. I mean, like, it's in like sort of kind of vitriolic stuff, like as in actual like hating teams and stuff. The other is
you don't want to overwhelm
we don't
them.
really exactly. I mean, it's if you've got someone who's been an Astros fan for 20 years, and you've got someone who's a Dodgers fan for 20 years, yeah, of course it's going to be a bit of back and forth, whatever. But if you've got someone who's never watched baseball before, it's not helpful to be kind of like in their faces, like with that. So we would make it a really approachable and enjoyable atmosphere. It's really, really good. We love doing what we do. Probably have another 8 or 9 events this year. We can't wait for the London series again. It was surreal when it was here in 2019. Absolutely phenomenal weekend that MLB put on for the fans. Just all the other kind of separate events that were being held by them, like activities and things, baseball related ones, were really cool. I hope they do the same again this year.
Mhm.
And yeah, we just can't wait to get involved. So to go back just to what your question was, there are baseball fans here, and the way we came together from 2017 really opened our eyes in that respect, and we're growing all the time, and we want to keep doing it.
That's great to hear, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the London series. I think it's the Cubs and Cardinals this year, and that should be great. I know MLB will probably put on a great
Mm,
for that. And yeah, I mean, I get what you mean because if you're trying to introduce a new sport to somebody, obviously the last thing you want to do is talk about X War or WOBA or anything like that because then you're just gonna scare them off. Um, but yeah, it's really good to know that MLB has communities outside of the U.S. that are so plugged into the game and are always on Twitter and interacting with people here in the States. I think that's what makes the whole MLB community really special. But yeah,
absolutely.
I'm really excited for the sport to continue to grow in the UK. I'm sorry if you hear any barking that's going on. I think my dog's in
No, don't
downstairs.
worry, all good,
But yeah,
all
moving
good.
on to my next question.
Mm,
So you've been working with Apollo Media for a bit now. What
yes.
was it like getting in contact with those guys? Because I know you've been good friends with Dez and those guys for a bit.
Hmm.
When was your first time at least interacting with them, and when did you start taking interest with Apollo Media?
Well, I think it was 2019. Even pre-Apollo, was in contact with guys like Josh and Des, especially through that postseason. There were group chats and stuff which were going around at that time, so I was already familiar with the guys, and they were familiar with what I was doing on Twitter. I mean, I do have other social media um, accounts as well. Like I've got UK Astros fans on Instagram and what have you. But in terms of the main kind of bread and butter for what I do is Twitter, and yeah, so people were familiar with me there, liked what I did, what I do, sorry, and yeah, it was mutual because I enjoyed talk. I was always enjoyed talking Astros baseball to Astros fans who are in Houston and in the US. So it was kind of a natural thing. And then they asked me to be part of the group in when they were starting in early 2020. And yeah, it was a real honor, and it's an honor to this day. I do very very much have aspirations and goals to get Astros across the globe. My podcast back up and running. It's through no fault of my own. I've always said it on the show, it's dependent on me getting the highest caliber guests. I'm not going to tread water and just sort of have myself talking. I do enough of that on Twitter as it is. So I don't think it would be very interesting if I just had a podcast of me rehashing what I was already saying. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. I'm really hoping to get out to Houston for the first ever time this year in July. So that's I'm crossing fingers, and it's just family wise needs to sort things out. I'm hoping to have some kind of resolution on the plan
Yeah,
by
coming
the
into
yeah, before the end of this month.
that's good, man. Apollo Me, obviously, I mean, it's so cool to see how far they've gotten. I mean, first they just started off
Yeah,
as just a small company. Now they have the Astros players wearing their merchandise. I
yeah,
remember
it's
seeing
amazing.
back in, I think it was like 2020. I remember the first time I saw, I think it was Correa or it was either Correa McCullers wearing the H sign against everybody shirt, and that's when I
Mm.
kind of knew that Apollo Me they had something going, and it's been really cool to watch those guys get to the place that they are at and sort of work with the Astros and become a staple of Houston. I also wanted to ask you about your predictions for the 2023 season coming up.
Mm.
Obviously, with the new acquisitions that we've made, Jose Abreu, bringing Michael Brantley back, the
Yep.
Yuli Gurriel going off. I think it was Miami. That's where I heard he was rumored to be going to. A lot of new.
Yeah, I don't think it's confirmed, but yeah.
But what do you think? What's your idea for where our record or Pythagorean is for this year in total wins? And what do you think? Who do you think are going to be some breakout stars this year on our team?
Good question. I don't think you're going to see a massive drop off. I think if I'm going to go for a win total, it's always a little tricky. I will say I'm going to say 101. I'm going to go 101. That's
Yeah,
higher than I normally go,
that's
but I
actually
think
mine.
this
Yeah.
team is so yeah. I think this team is so good. My greatest worry is actually to do with the pitch clock, and I know people say, "Yeah, don't worry, it'll be fine." I remember distinctly remember looking at the average pitch times for our guys, and apart from Jose Akidi, who's lightning when he just runs through it very quickly,
Mhm.
most of our guys will have to do something different to get in step with that pitch clock, and I just think that isn't something to be sort of glossed over. I really hope that they have something. Well, I'm sure they have. Obviously, they're planning for it, but I really hope they work out quickly how to adapt, because that's probably the only thing that could scupper this pitching staff is to have to change up what they're doing. I think 101 is a realistic number. I'm not going to go higher than that. In terms of beyond that, I do think this team is good enough to repeat. I think this team is definitely good enough to repeat. I think everyone would say the postseason always has a bit of you need to have a little bit of luck attached to it as well. So if things go our way as well, if players stay healthy, there's no reason why this team can't finally be the one to repeat, since the first one since the Yankees back in 2000. So it's yeah, I think it's going to be an extremely exciting season. I think we've got everything there. I mean, Jose Abreu, his age is a bit of a concern, but his game and his ability is certainly not. So hopefully
Mhm.
he's able to live up to the expectations which we rightly have kind of attached to him. Yeah, I mean, breakout stars. I think we expect to see Hunter Brown go from strength to strength. He looked so impressive last year in his kind of first steps within the MLB realm, and I expect to see again. I expect to see. I mean, it's not personally, it's absolutely not breakout stars, but I expect to see Framber and Javier just go from strength to strength as well. I think
Mhm.
the the other thing to watch out for is with the restrictions on the shift is that Kyle Tucker and Jordan Alvarez are going to have absolute monster years if they stay healthy, because they are just going to pardon the pun, they're going to tuck in when it comes to just doing damage on that side. I think the even though it will hurt us defensively in terms of the fact that we are have been one of the bigger proponents of using the shift. I think that the fact is that there'll be it will swing both ways, because we will absolutely benefit
Mhm.
batting
Yeah.
wise. And I don't know if there are any breakout stars beyond that. I'm not sure, but I think all I know is that I have immense faith in the coaching within our club, and the way that the talent identification and the way that they bring players through is second to none. And I
Mhm.
have absolutely unshakable faith in this team.
Yeah, yeah, and I will not be able to take it if Tucker has another unlucky first half, because it seems like the first half has
Yeah.
been his kryptonite, because he's always getting having hard hit balls that are for outs. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that the it will be definitely be interesting to see how the pitch clock and the new shift rules apply for this year. Honestly, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll
I hope
probably
so.
go on our way and make proper adjustments to it. And with Josh Miller and Joe Espada, like I mean, where can you really go wrong?
Mm.
Especially with Josh Miller, I did not expect him to be as good as he was last year, because I knew
Mm.
that he was an understudy of Brent Strom, but to see him work with our guys, and I think continuing seeing him work with our guys this year, it's just going to make a lot of people realize how good Brent Strom really was, and how well he's passed down his knowledge to our coaching staff. Um,
Absolutely.
the final question I want to leave you with
Hmm.
for this evening is, so Dusty Baker, I think he's currently signed back with us for this year. I do not believe it
Yep.
extends farther than 2023. If the Astros have an opportunity to go after AJ Hinch after he is done with his Tigers contract after this year, do you think they will go after him, or do you think they'd rather stay with Dusty Baker?
There's, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but there's no way AJ Hinch is ever coming back. That's
Mm-mm.
just not going to happen. I mean, I think that there are multiple things at play there. One, legendary Astros manager. I love AJ Hinch. I think I still hate the way it ended for him, but I think there's no guarantee it would be a success if he comes back. He might just slot back in. I don't see it. I just think Jim Crane is not going to want to have anything to do that's going to give an excuse for the media and the whole baseball world to just circle back on the negative fallout of the scandal. So I think there's no chance of that, unfortunately, whatsoever. In terms of Dusty Baker and whether, I mean, again, let's just say in a lovely world that we go on and repeat and win it again. I honestly, I think Dusty would be like, "Hey, let's run it back and let's go for a third." So I mean, I think it's a tricky one because yeah, everyone's saying Espada is the future and he needs that chance, and he does. But I think if we keep winning and we keep doing what we're doing, Dusty Baker doesn't seem the kind of guy who wants to just ride off into the sunset anytime soon. I was convinced, before last year, I was convinced that if we did win one, that he'd be like, yeah, perfect time to call it a day. But no, hearing him say in the lead up to us winning this one that if we win one, he'd like to win another, I'm like, okay, this guy is trying to make up for having not won it previously, and he'd want to just stick with it. I think if we won it again, you'd be seeing Dusty Baker in 2024. But no, we'll hopefully we'll come to that question. But yeah,
Yeah, I think Houston really loves Dusty. I know that I've grown to love him a lot.
yeah,
But
he's a great guy.
yeah, I don't think I couldn't see us bringing back AJ Hinch after, unfortunately, the stain that the
Yeah,
scandal left. But I think Dusty really has turned this organization around in ways that we couldn't have ever imagined. And I think that we should try and hold on to him for as long as he's willing to stay.
definitely.
Yeah, that's gonna do it. I didn't really have anything else planned, no other questions asked. But I do really appreciate your time talking with me
Nice
today.
pleasure.
Um, yeah, I mean, I all I can say is that I hope that we repeat this year and hopefully get the
Yeah,
chance
yeah.
to talk to you and some other people around the Astros community this year as much as I can. And thank you so much for being on this Zoom with me.
Absolutely, no, it's a pleasure, and we're very lucky to watch this team. Go Astros.
Go Stros, man. All right, I'm gonna stop
See ya.
recording. See ya.